Hey guys, it's Miss Carmen again. I told you I'd be back this week with another Georgia O'Keeffe-based project, and that's what I'm here for. This week we're going to do a project based on Georgia's painting Ladder to the Moon, and I really love this project and I'm excited about it, so I hope you're ready. But first, I wanted to remind you that when we've been cooped up inside a lot, it can be really important to still get some time outdoors. I know we're supposed to be practicing safe social distancing, but that doesn't mean we can't get a blanket and sit outdoors in our backyard, or maybe take a walk around the neighborhood with our families and just kind of watch the world go by. I know that when we've been cooped up inside a lot, it can be really important to get some outdoor time in, and it makes a world of difference. You couldn't see this, it was happening off screen, but I'm sure you could hear it. Penny Lane would not stop scratching at the door. So she wanted to come in and say hi, I guess. Say hello, Penny. Hi. And now she has to go. So I'm going to show you a picture of Georgia's painting, Ladder to the Moon. And this is what we're going to be doing our project based on. I want to talk to you a little bit about what could possibly be Georgia's inspiration for Ladder to the Moon. There are a few theories, but I came across some photos and they look like they're a good match for maybe the inspiration for this, and we'll talk about it while we work. Okay, unfortunately I've got a little background noise today. I apologize. I would love to pick a day where it's quiet outside, but there doesn't seem to be one. And I really need that extra light coming in from the window. So doing my best here. I'm going to start off today by taking my crayons. I'm going to use a white crayon. And on Georgia's picture, Georgia O'Keeffe didn't have any stars in her Ladder to the Moon painting, but I want to add some stars to mine. And ours isn't going to be exactly like hers. It's just going to be inspired by it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a white crayon. And you're not going to be able to see this part because the crayon's white. But I'm going to start putting some stars in the distance. And when I'm putting my stars on the white paper, I'm just making dots. Some will be smaller, some will be further away, some will be close together, some will be bigger, some will be smaller. But you know, in real life, stars aren't really evenly spaced out. Some of them are in groups. The small ones look further away. And then as I get down towards the horizon here, towards the bottom, there are going to be less stars. It's going to be darker at the top of my paper. Okay, so I've got a couple going off the sides of my page here, and it's very hard to see where I've marked them myself. So, okay, I have taken some blue watercolor over here, and I've added just a touch of green to make this beautiful night sky. I love the color in Georgia's. Unfortunately, I can't get that exact color. She used a different paint than we're using. Add a little more green here. There we go. And I'm going to start at the top with a nice wash across, and you can see the stars start to pop out there. So it's going to be fairly dark across the top here, and as I get closer to the bottom, I'm going to get a little lighter. Because the sky does get a little lighter towards the horizon, especially a night sky, because the sun is just set, right? All right, so I know I've got a little bit of a glare right here from the light, but I've got a nice wash of blue across the top, and it kind of fades as it gets towards the bottom. You can see there are a few spots where I've added the stars. I'm going to take a little piece of paper towel. Georgia's got some clouds in her painting, so I'm just going to dab out some areas. I'm going to twist this paper around so that I get a nice variety of patterns. I'm going to dab out where some clouds could be. Just going to dab out where I want my clouds. So now I've got my sky. I've dabbed out some areas where I have the clouds, and I have a little bit of stars, a scattering of stars up there too. All right, I've got my night sky drying as we speak. To review, I just took a white crayon and added a scattering of stars before I did a blue watercolor wash over the top and then faded it out a little towards the bottom. I then took a paper towel and dabbed some areas out where I wanted clouds. And now while it's drying, I'm going to prepare my paper for the collage part of the project. I went through a magazine and found some black strips of paper that I liked, and then I tore those black strips into the shape of these mountains, and I tore them instead of cut them so they would be nice and rocky looking. And these are going to go towards the bottom of my picture. I found, it was actually a sunset in the sky, but I found this, I cut it to look like a moon. It's just kind of an off-white pinkish color that I want for my moon when it's time. And I couldn't find a yellow that I liked in the magazine, so I just found an envelope. You can find any piece of paper around your house, junk mail, or if you can't find a piece of paper that you like, you can, or that has a color that you like, you can paint it on a separate sheet of paper, and then after it dries, you can cut it out. So I've cut out 6 rungs here for my ladder, and the rungs are the step. And then I've cut out the 2 long pieces for the sides of the ladder. So go ahead and get that ready, and I'll meet back up with you in a second, and we'll start the second part of the project. Okay, I've got my Elmer's glue here, and I'm going to start gluing my mountain ranges down. So Georgia O'Keeffe used to spend many summers at a place called Ghost Ranch in New Mexico. She first went to New Mexico in 1929, and she saw the ranch and fell in love with it. And she was really upset when she found out that it was already owned by someone. But she went there, and they let her rent a room there that summer. And she fell in love with it, and she would come back each summer and rent a room at the Ghost Ranch. Finally, one summer she came, and someone else was staying in the house she rented. She was really upset and asked them, "Who's staying in my house?" And they said, "Well, this isn't your house. You don't live here." So Georgia demanded, which I don't know how true that part is, but she did ask that they sell her the ranch, but they didn't sell her the whole ranch, but they sold her 7 acres and the house that she had been staying in because she loved the house so much. And she got a lot of her inspiration from looking at the mountain landscapes and the mesas around her home. And she went every summer until like the last 2 years of her life, I think, when she couldn't make the journey anymore. I'm just gonna put my moon up in the night sky here. I want mine right here. Now, Georgia O'Keeffe, when I was looking through some old photographs of her, I found some pictures of a ladder hung up or leaned up outside of her house in many images. And I was reading, and some sources were saying that the ladder that used to lean against her roof on the Ghost Ranch was an inspiration for the ladder in this painting. I've read a few different theories. That's the one I like. And when you look at the ladder, it really is an interesting comparison. So I'll put a picture up. In this photograph of Georgia at the Ghost Ranch, you can see the ladder leaning against the right of the building, and that is supposedly the ladder that could have inspired the Ladder to the Moon painting. So I'm gluing down the first side of my ladder here. When I glue down the second side of my ladder, I'm going to make sure that it bends in a little towards the top. We want the ladder to look like it's going back into space, like it's getting further away from us. So if I do it like this, it kind of looks like it's staying the same. But if I do it like this, it kind of looks like it's going further away from us, right? So I'm just going to make sure that the top parts are a little closer together. I'm only using a little bit of glue here. I keep knocking the glue over. Okay. So I'm just going to make sure that the top parts are leaning in towards each other a little more. There we go. And now I'm going to start gluing on the rungs of my ladder. And these are the steps of the ladder. So I'm just going to start with the bottom here. And I'm going to have them get a little closer together as they go back into space. So maybe these steps, because they look a little, because they're closer to us, look a little further apart. And then as they go back into space, they will start to maybe look a little closer together. Trim this edge off here. It's a little too long for me. Here we go. There's so much noise going on outside of my house today. I apologize for that. All right. Do my last rung here. I'm going to let this dry and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of shading on the bottom rungs of my ladder. I know that the light is coming from the moon, so that there won't be shading on the top, but there will be shading underneath here. So I'm just taking a brown crayon. You don't have to do this part. I like to do it. It's going to add a little bit of extra shading here. The sides of my ladder, and I'm just doing underneath the rungs where I know that the light isn't hitting that well. And I think I may take the white and go on top and make it a little lighter on the top of some of these. I should have let this dry a little more. There we go. All right. And then I think I have some white over here on top of the mountains, but I think I'm going to add a tiny bit more. So I'm going to take an oil pastel. You don't have to do this part. If you want to, that's fine. I'm just going to add a little more lights to my mountains down here. Try a crayon, or you could just tear it and leave it. When we finish our picture, I always like to see if there's something else I can add to it just to make it pop a little more. So, there we go. I'm going to take the tape off. Again, you don't have to tape your picture. I like to. Just going to pull away here. Oh, this is cute. There we go. I like the way it came out. I love this painting of hers. How many of us have not wished that we could go up to the moon and see what it looked like? All right, so here's our Georgia O'Keeffe project, Ladder to the Moon. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next week. As soon as I settle on a project, I will put out a list of materials, and I hope you can join me again next week. Have a good week. She's driving me nuts. Okay. She's got a leaf in her mouth. She has a leaf in her mouth. I'm so done with this cat. Nope, don't drink that.